I want to break this down for you clearly. This isn't about blaming women, hating men, or taking sides. It's about understanding the social programming, the evolutionary psychology, and the structural shifts that are quietly shaping modern relationships. If you don't see the bigger picture, you'll keep getting blindsided, losing time, money, and emotional stability, while wondering how someone who once swore love could walk away without a second glance. In the past, commitments carried heavier social consequences. Breaking a marriage or walking out of a family came with reputation loss, community judgment, and family pressure. Flawed as those systems were, they created boundaries. Families stayed together, sometimes miserably, but the rules were clear. Today, many of those guardrails have collapsed. New freedoms, endless temptations, and cultural narratives that glorify self-fulfillment at all costs have left almost no breaks. The landscape shifted because of a combination of cultural rewiring, evolutionary drives, and technological change. Where once public shame and tangible consequences kept behavior in check, now those restraints have weakened. It's far easier to replace than repair. The marketplace of attention is always open, always buzzing, always suggesting you can do better. We live in an age of instant gratification, constant validation, and the illusion of infinite options fueled by social media and dating apps. Emotional intimacy has become easy to disconnect from physical intimacy. Double lives are simpler to construct. Parallel stories unfold in hidden chats and DMs, while the person next to you thinks they know your whole world. And beneath it all is one idea: everyone is replaceable. When betrayal surfaces, rationalizations often follow. The guilty one shifts blame. You weren't attentive, you worked too much, I felt invisible. Sometimes those wounds are real. Other times, they're a script to dodge accountability. Worse, our cultural and legal systems, through media, poorly applied therapy talk, and a litigation industry that thrives on conflict, reward the breakup more than the repair. The costs rise emotionally, financially, and socially for both sides. Money inside a relationship is never just numbers on a spreadsheet. It represents years of work, sacrifice, and shared projects. That's why when separation is handled poorly, one partner feels like they've lost half a lifetime, while the other feels they've paid with youth and invisible labor. And when children get pulled into the conflict as bargaining chips, the wounds cut even deeper, leaving scars that last well beyond the breakup. Cultural narratives don't help either. Everywhere we turn, the message is simple: chase desire, live for the moment, don't sacrifice your happiness. But the flip side of this follow your heart mantra is the collapse of long-term commitments. Families fall apart not only because of betrayal, but because short-term satisfaction is given more value than long-term stability. That shift isn't romantic, it's destructive. That's why some propose a defense mechanism, explicit agreements. Not romantic promises whispered in the heat of passion, but written, clear deals. Boundaries with social media and ex-partners, financial transparency, shared expectations around intimacy, and, most importantly, agreed consequences when trust is broken. It may sound unromantic, but structure is what protects love from the chaos of modern life. On a systemic level, there's also room for reform. Custody battles should focus on the child's real best interests, not serve as weapons. Alimony and child support should reflect actual costs, not turn into tools of punishment or reward. Mediation should be encouraged over litigation. And emotional education should teach duties and responsibilities, not just rights and self-expression. The pragmatic truth is this: stability doesn't happen by accident anymore. It has to be designed. Agreements, clarity, and prevention are the building blocks. And if there's no willingness to repair after a breach, ending things with dignity is not weakness, it's self-preservation. It's refusing to drown in chaos just because the culture tells you to keep pretending. We have to face it. We're social primates capable of forming multiple bonds over a lifetime. Combine that biological reality with a culture of instant gratification, digital anonymity, and endless options at your fingertips, and stability becomes fragile. In this environment, both men and women are vulnerable to failure. The issue isn't about gender, it's about incentives that make breaking far easier than repairing. Popular culture keeps hammering the same line: if it doesn't make you 100% happy, leave. Social media and dating apps amplify this mindset, offering constant validation and a sense of infinite alternatives. Emotional intimacy gets split from physical intimacy, and people learn to compartmentalize, living parallel stories with parallel truths. The result? Double lives, contradictory narratives, and a permanent feeling that everyone is replaceable. When betrayal is exposed, the rationalization script usually plays, "You weren't there for me. You worked too much. I didn't feel seen." Sometimes, yes, those grievances are real. Other times, they're just a convenient excuse to dodge responsibility. The deeper issue isn't the existence of pain. It's that the cultural and legal systems around us often reward ending a relationship more than repairing it, driving the emotional and financial costs even higher. Dangerous myths feed the cycle too. Many believe that marrying your first and only, or choosing someone with a good past, guarantees fidelity. But there are no guarantees. Curiosity, regret, or resentment can surface in anyone if there's no inner work, no clear boundaries, and no explicit agreements. Without structure, desire eventually turns chaotic, and then comes money, the quiet battlefield. In relationships, money represents years of effort, time, and sacrifice. In messy separations, one side feels robbed of half a life, while the other feels drained from years of invisible work. Without clear agreements, both walk away injured, carrying the sense of being cheated not just emotionally, but structurally. Children should never become bargaining chips. Yet in many places, custody and support are decided with formulas that don't reflect real-life situations. This pushes parents into litigation instead of mediation. And when kids are used as tools for negotiation, everyone loses: the father, the mother, and most of all, the children themselves, who carry wounds long after the papers are signed. There's an entire conflict industry that profits from chaos. Lawyers who thrive on endless divorces, media content that goes viral by amplifying drama, and therapeutic discourses that get twisted into "follow only what you feel right now." Responsibility and commitment don't trend. Self-gratification does. And when that's the cultural backdrop, repairing a relationship becomes the exception, not the rule. So what can actually be done? First, agreements. Real, explicit, written agreements from the very beginning. Expectations around money, social media, friendships, boundaries with exes, time together, and sexual intimacy need to be put on the table. Second, financial transparency. Rules about spending, investments, and shared responsibilities prevent confusion later. And third, legal preparation if marriage is involved. Not out of paranoia, but out of clarity. Couples should define real consequences for breaches of trust. Not empty threats, but protocols. Pausing the relationship, therapy, revisiting agreements, or even temporary separation. Important matters should be documented to prevent narrative wars later. And perhaps most importantly, avoid negotiating under panic. The fear of losing children or money often drives people into signing the worst possible deals. On a broader level, systemic reforms are needed. Custody decisions must center on the child's best interest, not adult revenge. Support payments should reflect actual expenses. Mediation should be incentivized, not punished. And emotional education should emphasize duties alongside rights. Until then, the responsibility falls on individuals to act intelligently. Prevention over reaction. Many men, when faced with this new landscape, make the mistake of trying to win in a game that has already changed. They beg for validation instead of enforcing boundaries. And many women, under pressure from impossible beauty standards and constant online attention, fall into patterns of self-sabotage in relationships. Nobody is immune. We all need structure, or chaos eventually wins. Understanding this reality isn't cynicism, it's emotional hygiene. It's not about giving up on love, but about protecting love with agreements. It's not about paranoia, but about clarity. When promises are broken over and over without real willingness to repair, leaving becomes an act of dignity, not defeat. The modern terrain pushes us toward a gap between short-term desire and long-term projects. If you want to protect yourself, don't play blind. Set rules. Put agreements in writing. Keep evidence. Choose mediation over courtroom battles. And don't be afraid to say enough. Stability is possible, but it doesn't happen by chance anymore. It must be designed. Today's relationships run on different incentives, fewer social consequences, more instant validation, and the belief that someone better is just a message away. Social media and apps create a permanent market of attention where curiosity feels like destiny. In that environment, emotional intimacy and physical intimacy drift apart, and hard conversations get postponed. When betrayal strikes, the rationalization cycle begins. Blame gets shifted on stress, on work, on routine. Sometimes those wounds are real. Other times they're just cover stories to avoid responsibility. The deeper problem is that cultural and legal systems often make leaving easier than repairing, turning pain into profit for everyone except the couple. Money, again, is a battlefield. It's not just cash, it's time, energy, and projects built together. In a poorly handled breakup, one partner feels robbed of half their life, while the other feels drained by years of unseen effort. That's why clear financial agreements, budgets, transparency, shared accounts matter. Clarity today prevents wars tomorrow. Children cannot be levers in adult negotiations. Healthy co-parenting means prioritizing routines, emotional stability, and consistent environments. Custody and support should reflect real costs and the child's best interest, not serve as punishment or reward. Using kids as tools poisons everyone involved. Meanwhile, there's a full-blown industry that thrives on conflict. Long legal battles, viral drama content, and oversimplified therapeutic slogans that encourage, just do what you feel. The antidote is structure, agreements about social media, boundaries with exes, time quality, intimacy rules, and consequences when lines are crossed. Stability is not luck, it's built. To make relationships work today, written agreements help. Clear values, defined commitments, and negotiated boundaries. This isn't about spying. It's about voluntary transparency, deciding what's shared, what's private, and how to communicate when something feels off. Clarity lowers paranoia and raises trust. Preventive maintenance is crucial. A 90-minute check-in once a month. No screens, just honest conversation. What's working, what's heavy, what needs to change. A small list of weekly adjustments. Document agreements simply, with dates and responsibilities. Small consistent tweaks prevent massive crises later. Desire also needs structure. It doesn't stay alive on its own. It has to be designed and nurtured. That means building rituals of intimacy, planning dates with novelty, and creating safe spaces to talk about fantasies without judgment. Couples should agree on early warning signs, like constant excuses, apathy, or postponing closeness, and have a protocol ready. Honest conversation, clearing space in the schedule, and if needed, short-term therapy. Waiting for it to fix itself almost never works. Financial structure matters just as much. A healthy model often includes a shared account for household expenses and separate accounts for personal freedom. Couples can agree on contribution percentages, spending limits without consultation, and a shared log for big purchases. Transparency lowers anxiety and prevents endless fights about money. Every couple should also have a crisis plan. If serious doubts arise, follow steps in order. Pause emotionally, review facts, set temporary measures of transparency, consult a professional, and create a timeline for evaluation. If nothing improves, then separation with respect is the final option. Preparing in advance prevents narrative wars and toxic chaos later. Repairing broken trust isn't abstract. It requires 4 concrete moves. Admit the truth without spin, repair the damage, demonstrate change with actions, and then choose each other again under new agreements. Remorse is just regret over consequences. Responsibility means visible change. Without new habits, there is no real repair. Consequences should be defined before the storm hits. That might mean temporary distance, clear limits with third parties, therapy, or weekly check-ins. These aren't punishments. They're safeguards mutually agreed upon to give the bond a chance to heal. But if violations keep happening, then the protocol should trigger the exit plan. For couples with children, co-parenting has to be a priority. That means stable schedules, neutral communication, and decisions documented clearly. Parents must resist using kids as messengers or pawns. Consistent routines between households help children feel safe, even when the family structure changes. Mediation can handle disagreements, keeping the focus where it belongs, on the child's well-being. Digital hygiene is another pillar. Unchecked notifications, endless scrolling, and blurred boundaries with online contacts fuel insecurity. Couples should set screen-free times, limit notifications, and establish rules for content that crosses agreed lines. Together, they should reflect on how social media impacts self-esteem, desire, and jealousy. Sometimes silence and digital rest repair more than 1,000 conversations. Personal work is just as essential. Therapy, exercise, meaningful community, and purpose protect both individuals and the relationship. If, after all of this, the relationship still doesn't improve, then leaving with dignity is a form of self-love. That means sorting assets fairly, using mediation, and communicating respectfully. A clean exit protects mental health as much as staying ever could. Before moving in or getting married, legal and financial clarity helps. Prenuptial agreements, rules for managing assets, and behavioral clauses about social media, third parties, or confidentiality aren't about mistrust. They're about structure, including mechanisms for conflict resolution, like mediation or arbitration, saves both from unnecessary wars. Even non-financial contributions like caregiving and housework should be acknowledged and recorded. When it comes to custody, shared responsibility should be the default unless there are real safety concerns. Evidence of active participation, school, health activities, should be documented. Calendars, vacations, and expenses should be agreed upon in detail. The clearer the agreements, the less room for conflict. Children don't need ideological explanations. They need stability. Support payments and financial aid should always be based on real costs, with periodic reviews instead of rigid formulas that fuel endless fights. Transparency about income and recognition of invisible labor, like childcare and domestic work, reduce the feeling of structural unfairness. The goal isn't to punish one parent or reward the other. It's to sustain the children in a fair and balanced way. Documentation and privacy are critical. Agreements and shared logs should be stored securely, and couples must resist the urge to spy. Surveillance kills trust faster than betrayal itself. When doubts appear, neutral third parties and temporary transparency protocols work better than secret checks. Building safety requires honesty, not espionage. In moments of crisis, communication protocols matter. Couples should agree on response times, channels, and pauses before making big decisions. A simple 24-hour rule, waiting a day before acting on anger or fear, can save both from costly mistakes. Acting under panic almost always leads to outcomes you'll regret. Emotional hygiene matters as much as legal strategy. That means protecting sleep, moving your body daily, eating clean, and cutting down on chaotic digital noise, porn, or addictive substances. Less external chaos means more space for reconnection. Nervous system regulation isn't glamorous, but it's the foundation of every healthy agreement. Shared rituals keep the bond alive. 10 minutes of daily check-in without screens, one weekly date with novelty, a long walk each weekend. Micro habits outweigh grand speeches. The real key is to talk about pain early, directly and respectfully, before resentment builds into something destructive. Social environments also play a role. Couples need clear boundaries with colleagues and ex-partners, and a supportive circle that strengthens the relationship instead of sabotaging it. Mentors, healthy couples, or trusted friends provide better guidance than random advice fueled by gossip or bitterness. Relationships thrive when the ecosystem around them supports growth. Early warning signs should never be ignored. Persistent coldness, sarcasm that wounds, digital secrets, or hidden spending are not small details. They are signals. A clear protocol helps: direct conversation, temporary transparency, brief therapy, and a 90-day evaluation. If there's no observable change, agreements must be adjusted. Love without boundaries becomes chaos. Every couple should also have a plan for a respectful exit if nothing works. That means a list of assets, co-parenting proposals, support payments tied to costs, mediation, and a united narrative for the children. We are still your team. Closing with order isn't failure, it's maturity. It protects mental health and prevents financial ruin. To sustain a relationship long-term, couples can even treat it as a shared project with metrics: weekly emotional connection, monthly financial clarity, and ongoing child well-being. These aren't scores to fight over, but thermometers to adjust before something breaks. Small measurable indicators keep the relationship alive. At the heart of it all lies one truth: stability doesn't happen by accident. Rights without duties breed chaos. Duties without care breed suffocation. The balance is found in a system of clear agreements, fair consequences and rituals that feed the bond daily. Love is not magic, it's maintenance. A simple roadmap can save years of pain. Clarity of values, written agreements, transparent finances, emotional hygiene, and a sober conflict protocol. That protocol should be simple. Pause, review facts, set temporary measures, involve professional help, and reevaluate on a set date. Less endless speeches, more consistent habits. If betrayal happens, couples can use a time-based protocol. 30 days to stabilize emotions, 90 days to demonstrate visible changes, 180 days to decide if reconciliation is real. Without new behaviors, there is no repair, only recycled promises. Trust is not rebuilt with words, it's rebuilt with measurable actions. When children are involved, communication must be adult and united. We are still your team. Our form is changing, but our love for you is not. A clear calendar, consistent rules between homes, and documented decisions reduce friction. Kids don't need long ideological speeches. They need predictability and stability. The modern world rewards immediacy, but you don't have to. You can reward what truly matters: long-term bonds, respect, and conscious love. Designing your relationship as a project, with purpose, human metrics, boundaries, and care, isn't cold. It's survival. And if the healthiest choice is separation, then doing it with order and dignity is also love. Think of a relationship contract, not as a cage, but as a map. A short editable document that outlines values, boundaries, and conflict procedures. Include quarterly reviews and emotional audits. What's needed, what's extra, what's hurting. Writing it down isn't control, it's clarity. And clarity sustains connection where passion alone cannot. Mature love means managing risk like adults. Digital temptations, stressful seasons, travel, third parties, they're all predictable. That's why rules matter. Schedules, reasonable transparency, and clear communication channels aren't signs of weakness. They're signs of foresight. Maturity isn't the absence of impulse. It's the structure that helps you choose well when impulses come. Build a pro-relationship circle around you. Mentors, couples you admire, trusted therapists, friends who respect your agreements. Avoid impulsive advisors who fuel drama and tell you only to follow your feelings. When doubts appear, return to your map. Values, boundaries, and the well-being of your children first. At some point, a decision must be made. Recommit with new habits or separate with honor. Staying without real willingness to repair is slow cruelty. Leaving without order is unnecessary war. Dignity lies in choosing truth, standing by it, and protecting yourself and those you love from needless chaos. The essential reminder is this: stability doesn't arrive by accident. It must be designed. Rights without responsibilities breed chaos. Responsibilities without care suffocate love. The middle ground is clear agreements, just consequences, and daily rituals that nurture the bond. That balance is where long-term love survives. In the end, love in today's world is not about luck. It's about conscious design. Agreements, clarity, prevention, and dignity form the foundation. Whether you stay and build or leave with respect, both are acts of strength. Because in a culture that rewards chaos, creating order is the most radical form of love.